Morning, how are we?
Really good. How are you guys?
Better than you. I think it's fair to say we had a great sunrise, didn't we, Jack?
Yeah, sunrise was awesome. I'm very happy we made the trip up for it.
I'm very jealous. I want to hear all about it.
Oh, there's a fair amount of schedule dedicated to it. Why didn't you kick us off, Jack? Why you think it was awesome?
The thing about sunrise that I thought going into it's actually mostly around the content. So the lineup that they actually had, which were a lot of Blackbird's portfolio, but it was great to have Cliff. It was great to have Lucy from Airwallex. There was representation from Eucalyptus, like all these iconic Australian companies. They then got the founders or an employee to come and do a talk.
Cliff from Canberra.
So I thought it was more content focused than something like a South Start, which they're both needed in the ecosystem, but it was great to come here for the content.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the content was just designed to maybe not give you a lot of answers, but to inspire. I was on a couple of them. I was just blown away of the depth of thinking.
Yeah, like the first one we went to, we should know his name. It's Jay. But like that speech, the amount of effort that went into 25 minutes of his talk, and he nailed word for word, even gave us a rap. Like it was actually incredible.
Yeah, and I've got some space to talk about it. It was not only an amazing delivery, but the content was so insightful. It just was, and he's part of the Eucalyptus team, isn't he? And then Charlie from Eucalyptus, who's clearly an absolute weapon and doesn't really care what people think, whether it's politically correct or not. I thought that was bloody great. And it kicked off, Jack, with, what was it, 1013, Archangel, and Folklore, the drinks the night before.
Yeah, that was good. They ended up being quite a late one, didn't it? Like I don't think we left till 10:30.
Yeah. How good was the magic card guy?
That was pretty rogue.
Aaron, we're sitting there like talking, this young kid who's like awkward as fuck turns up and says, "Hi, I've been paid to come and entertain people. Can I entertain you?" I'm like, go for it. He starts doing these card tricks. It was pretty good. I thought it was excellent.
That is hilarious. Do you think he was legit paid to do it, or he was just a rando telling that story?
I don't know, but he was quite, even though he started off awkward, it started to get funnier and funnier, and yeah. And then we were having a chat. Who was it? It was Lee Ford from UEF, Alex from Advanced, and some of his team. And we were talking off. We were just talking about some marketing, and Alex was going deep into the fact that nobody cold calls, and he's really getting some benefit out of cold calling. And for listeners, Advanced R&D are the company to go to if you're seeking to get lending against your R&D claim early. And then they have a product that allows you, I'm pretty sure midstream, to be able to double up on your funding. And so it allows you to go even harder on your R&D. I'll put their link in the show notes. But people that aren't funding their R&D, I'd really recommend that you have a look at it, because you can just start to get a lot more leverage early. But I think his frame of reference is what's interesting. He sees himself as a marketing company first and foremost, that then has a product that he believes can add value. But what he's doing from a lead generation point of view, of how he gets the leads, stuff that he's doing on email and stuff that he's doing on cold calling to create new business opportunities, he's leaving his competitors behind. What were your thoughts out of that chat, Jack?
I think it's just good to speak to a founder that knows his numbers, like his funnel metrics, and doesn't over-engineer how to find customers. For him, and I actually think it's the same for a lot of B2B founders, is there are a qualified list of leads which he can scrape from a database online, because if you receive R&D funding, I think he was saying it's listed on the website. So then you have a qualified list of people, and then what's the easiest way to get in contact with them? Pick up the phone. Like it wasn't anything over-engineered. It was just pick up the phone, even though it's hard and you're going to get rejected, and just pitch them your product.
Yeah, and then in picking up the phone, though, he had put a bit of science into the 1%ers, like the first 5 words that come out of his mouth, then dealing with a whole lot of objections. And he was saying that initial call to get them interested on average lasted 42 seconds. So this isn't impressive. Like some long, complicated thing. And the ability to get through then hundreds of calls a day as a qualifying mechanism to then get people into the funnel. He's pulling work from his competitors because he's got a good product that is differentiated from the others. And then someone, Jack, I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but he started talking about some of the cold call testing that he'd been doing. And Aaron, one of them, they road tested where on the computer you would have a dog barking in the background within the first 3 seconds, and then you would turn around and say, "Hey, Bluey, I'll be with you in a little while. Just calm down." And what it does is it interrupts the person who's picked up the phone's thought patterns. It makes you seem like an empathetic human because you've got a dog, you're talking to the dog. And like they trialed that and what the success rate was.
Oh, that is so good. It'd be interesting what other experiments other than a dog that run and what gets the highest conversion.
Yeah.
But I can see that interrupting the objection circuit and just
Exactly.
make it much more human.
Yeah, and just little things like starting off early in the call, acknowledging you're busy, but is this a bad time to call? And most Aussies, like our initial impulse is always to go, no, it's fine, even if we're like in the middle of like the building burning down. And then it got me thinking just in terms of like cold outbound. There's just a couple of things I wanted to share here. So this little video I had seen, again, a lot of these things I think are just like 1%ers. And so this is a guy on Instagram.
That 22% of the global population uses Gmail, and this is the easiest marketing hack that anybody can do. Drag your business logo into Gemini. Just say, animate my logo. You want to get something very minor like this, where there's not a ton of creative license taken. Download the video, search MP4 to GIF, click this, convert it. It'll take a second. Go to myaccount.google.com, click the camera icon. Now all you have to do is upload the GIF you made. This increases open rates a ton because nobody else uses moving email icons. No one else is using email icons that move. It's the simplest thing to do. Nobody else does it. 75% of the US market uses Gmail. This is the easiest hack anybody can do.
So when you look at your Gmail, if you've got your logo that's pulsating and nobody else is, he's saying that it increases your open rates, which I thought these are the little creative ideas that you got to come up with. Then there was another one just related to this topic from Harry Stebbings that I thought I would just play to keep the theme going.
Pretty nuts to me that you can find anyone's email on the internet and just cold email them. And so how do you do a cold email? Number one, fucking clear subject line. Don't do this really needy attention, but like 20 VC podcast appearance.
Yep.
Done. And then you're like, hi, Mark, you know what? I hope you're well. Never. Who's I hope you're unwell? Says, hi, Mark, keeping short out of respect for your time. I would love to have you on 20 VC. State your objective. And then you want social validity. We have X amount of subscribers, followers, you name it, and have had guests like X, Y, and Z. And then super simple. We simply require 30 minutes of time and it's done on Riverside. Bosh. And then I put PS. If you do it, I will send you a bottle of your favorite Macallan 75, which is a favorite whiskey. No one does that. Do you know how few people cold email well? So few people can do that well.
Mm-hmm.
So just on that topic, I think you've got to combine everything, right? Little 1%ers here and there. But if cold email or cold calling is going to be on your list, actually putting some craft into it, putting some science into it. And I know it's something that I can certainly get better at.
Yeah, something I need to get better at. I've got Claude that runs this script each day and reviews the emails I sent the day before now. For any of those little extras that I tend to do, hope you're well, need to catch up soon. Like all these little things, just cut it all out.
Yeah. And then the full sunrise itself, Jack, I thought we'd just run through a few. I think part of it, that location, Carriage Works, where they've got so much space that's open and then they've got the different stages. I think that adds to the vibe. And I think it's just developed a brand for quality now. And I didn't find almost any of this kind of thing happening. Let me just play this one. I didn't find any of these people out there that in these events can become a little bit energy vampire-ish.
B, SEO, CRM, startup, right? We optimize, streamline, and centralize. We solve that problem. It's called Wankify. What do?
Yeah.
So I'm head of customer exploitation, right? So I make sure that the customer has no idea what's going on. It's disruptive. It's transformative. It's going to blow your fucking mind. Are you hitting your KPIs? With Wankify, you can hit your goals to the moon. We're talking rockets. It's a tool, it's a website, it's a spreadsheet, it's a platform, it's a system condensed into one app. Works 100% of the time, 0% of the time.
Where does the data go?
It goes somewhere in the metaverse, which isn't really my problem, and it's not yours either, but I'm sure it's fine.
There was an absence of that, which I thought was quite nice. We've already spoken about Jay. It was Jay Lubrick on taste and execution, and he was just. You'll do a better job than me, Jack. But Silicon Valley for 40 years has been so focused on simplicity and ease and removing all friction that when you have a look at Silicon Valley, it's like it's scrubbed culture. And there was an amazing picture that he put up that I had not seen before, but got it here. So it's got all of the Yves Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, Burberry, Baruti, Balmain. These are all the high-end icons. And have a look at their logos over the last 15 years. They used to be really differentiated and have their own style and class. They're the same fucking logo. For people at home, it's caps lock black and just the homogeny. What he's then talked about when you have a look at what AI does and how it just tries to put forward the mean. Now suddenly all the tech bros have gone, taste, it's taste. And you've got to go through the slop. So he's like, the people that brought you this homogenized slop are now the ones that are working out taste, but they wouldn't be able to find taste if it smashed them in the face. And so he had some really interesting insights on what we can do.
And it is that move towards the middle, because the data, like optimizing for what the data tells us and insights, we've all shifted there. Look at the political parties, like the differentiation is minimal because that's what the data says works. But yeah, taste. The irony that it's us boys talking about taste.
Yeah. And then Lucy from Airwallex. I thought it was really great and great to have her on, but I just feel a little for some founders sometimes because the vibe is all around the energy and the hard work and the difficulty but she was able to write a check from a position of some significant family wealth, right? And that isn't acknowledged in some of the conversations. It's just, oh, well, if it didn't work out, I'd just go and get a job. Yeah, for a lot of founders, they don't actually have that ability. And I'm probably splitting hairs, suggesting that it should be acknowledged. But when founders are sitting there hungry for knowledge on how did you do it, and someone smells like they're giving you a roadmap, and you start to follow it and then not realize that you don't have any of those fucking ingredients to actually do the same thing, I worry we set people up for failure. But great to have some insights. I had to leave early from that one, Jack, because my phone was going hot. But what did I miss?
Yeah, I'd say like on that, like it wasn't that it was a missed opportunity, but like they actually didn't get into the questions I thought were going to be asked and spoken about, and they only dropped a few hints. Like Airwallex's journey it's a massive J curve, and it's like one of the coolest stories in Australia. And there was only a few references where she dropped like in the first year, I think it was like $1 million through the platform. Then 12 months later, it was $500 million. And it was just exponential. We're like, for her and like for their journey, that wasn't a big deal. But it was just like, oh, why aren't we focusing on this? Why aren't we focusing on that? And just energize the whole founder, like every founder in the room, like, because it's such a cool story.
Yeah, I get it. It's difficult. And then I did with Phil and Artem and Rick from the Gaspot team. We went to the Vercel Build Your Own Agent one, and like I stood at the front door before it opened. Like I was third in line, like some little kid at a Boxing Day sale wanting to try and get a cheap TV. And we got front row seats. And it was really quite good. For really technical people, you didn't need to so much know, but this Vercel platform, I'm going to become such a terror because it actually puts the power in your hand. And so with some of the family office stuff, in terms of getting stuff done, one of the things I'm constantly like, where are we up to with this? And hey, the project management system's a bit out of date. Hey, where's this task at? And in 40 minutes, was able to create a little agent that just is going to read the project and task management system every hour. And then when something is out of date, is just going to send them a message that they can reply to, and then that'll send them to go back out. And if there hasn't been a response, a little voice agent can call them. And so there was let me play this little video here. Jason Calacanis did a little video, which I must admit, it scared the shit out of me.
They operate at work if you don't know how to manage an agent, because that's the new interface. And this was like a major breakthrough for me. I had everybody come into the company on Sunday. We did an optional course, mandatory if you want to survive in the workforce in the future. And everybody started using OpenClaw and learning how it works. I spent my whole morning just educating my OpenClaw agent. I introduced them to each person in the company. I said, study what they do. I said, give my agent system level access to Gmail so they can see all the employees' Gmails in and out. They can see all the Notion edits in and out. They can see all the Zoom meetings and their calendar, and they can see all their Slack messages. Now they'll have a whole understanding of that person and what they did this week. And then on the weekend, I want you to act as an executive coach, and I want you to send a DM to their manager and myself. And I said, recap their week and then coach them on what they could have done better and what they got right, and then ask them some probing questions about how they could do better at their job.
On so many levels, that's going to be good. But one of the things I was talking to someone at the event was, I have a feeling this whole AI world is actually going to lead to a lot more conflict inside organizations and teams. And we're actually going to see this intriguing thing where it's never been easier to create some stuff, but it's never been easier to fuck your company at the same time. And so one of the issues is like entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial energy. We've now given them the tools to bypass the devs and the CTO and the whatever else, and they sit there 24 hours a day coding up new ideas with all this entrepreneurial energy that the rest of the team aren't going to be able to be anywhere near as quick, because they've got to do systems and process and controls and risk management and security and all of these things. And I can see conflict coming there. But in that example there with what he's given, you're going to have to be very careful of the unintended consequences of some agent measuring only measurable things that it can and then not having context. So as an example, for your cold caller, if all they've got to do is do cold calls, and then this agent can see the number, what the success rate was, like listen to the tonality of the voice, give some feedback, fucking fantastic. That's going to be amazing. The more you move up the company, though, and have people that actually need more context or more nuanced, or if you go, you've got to be so careful that if you start using this to decide whether they were productive or not, and you're going to reduce everything to the number of Notion this and Zoom meetings and that, I can see it causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think for roles where there's low ambiguity and repetitive process, or I can see that working. I was having this conversation yesterday because built out OpenClaw to do a lot of the, like building these skills to do a lot of the reporting for us around the missions and the accelerator, because we had four reports all due yesterday. But some of they're not hallucinations, but some of the aberrations that it comes up with and the extra things it puts in and its interpretation of things. If you were a founder or an individual who didn't have a certain awareness or general knowledge across business, I think already there'd be a lot of mistakes being made in business right now where people are just blindly following the AI output, and it's lost the nuances. So it is, now these things will likely solve themselves as the models get better and all that, but there will be this period, like to your point, Don, around conflict within teams, but these unintended consequences around just mistakes and poor choices that also get made.
Aaron, was it in the US when we were chatting to the lawyers when they were saying all the mistakes they're having for founders that are bringing them documents that they put through GPT?
Yeah, and I think we talked about in the podcast once, the lawyers, the barristers actually that were relying on AI to generate their submissions, and it was actually hallucinating case law that didn't exist. And so now there's actually a tick box in the court when you submit a document if you've used AI to generate any aspect of it. And I think we're in this phase. The other thing I picked up from Jason, his phrasing that, I ran this optional training on a Sunday, but it was mandatory if you want a future career.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very SF type culture, but also needed right now. It's very true. If you're not upskilling in this space, you are left behind.
Then I was in the pre-seed investing masterclass that had Nikki from Blackbird, Danielle Strackman from 1517 Ventures, and Maxine Minter. And I almost didn't stay for that one, but I'm so glad I did because it was just awesome. Those three are amazing. Maxine is always so clear. We have to get her on the podcast. We need to work with her on some of our US missions.
Oh, we do. Yep.
Nikki's analogy for when you start, especially in early stage, but any kind of stuff, is like you pick up an untuned guitar and you start playing this thing and you often don't know what you're doing. And then as you get experience, you're actually just tuning your guitar. And I thought that was a really good analogy. And one of the strings is the founder, and one of the strings is the market dynamics. And they then, they really spent some time going into then how they then evaluate deals. And it's no surprise that Blackbird is obviously people, but really getting into, they just don't touch anything unless they really think that this is a unique and remarkable individual. Danielle talked about, you got to work out, are they crazy or crazy awesome? And the problem is you often don't find that out until 2 years in. There was, I can't remember which one was talking about it, but they were talking about when you're working with founders, sometimes you can get, you can see the big picture and the vision, but they talked about there's hyperfluency and the ability to go high and low, macro, micro. But sometimes you deal with these founders that very quickly, when you ask them something operational, they end up in the cloud of abstraction. And suddenly they're just talking so big a picture that they just keep getting lost in the clouds, and that does not correlate well to execution. And I totally believe that. There was another one of the two shits. Do they give a shit, and can they get shit done? And that was a good one. What Nikki was saying in all of their pitches and what have you, they have granola listening, and then they've actually trained a little model to give them watch outs for all the execution problems that this founder is going to have. So just to help with that. But he was very clear on, once you've made a decision, yes, your role is to not fuck yourself out of it, is what he said. Where suddenly, if you look at Canva, they were a yes, but it could have easily been no with an 8 mil pre-money at the time. It could easily be no with, well, why wouldn't Google do this? And what you've just got to do is, he said, attuned investors in this space get to a point where they go, once they're yes and you've gone through your models, it's just fuck it, let's go. And like you can just see that in Blackbird's investing, right? He also made a really good point around a lot of founders, especially in technical products. It sounds complex and investors can go, wow, this, I have no idea what this founder's saying, but man, they sound like they know their stuff. He's no, that's the dumb person. The smart one is that can take any complex issue or situation and actually make you understand it even without a technical background, like you're a 5-year-old. He said, that's the smart one. Those are the people that we're trying to back. And so he just inverts it. The people that most of the world think are the smart ones, he says are the dumb ones. Ability to stretch resources. So it doesn't matter how much money you've got this impulse to stretch resources, and they look for ways that you've been able to really stretch resources and get stuff done, even though you shouldn't have been able to do that. And we see that so often with founders is, I need all the resources to get success. It's like, no. And then Danielle's one I really liked was like, do they have dog on a leash energy? And Phil from Gaspot and Ultrabot was down there, and I was just going tick, tick, tick through my mind. You find me somebody else that has more dog on a leash energy than that lad. But yeah, that dog on a leash energy. Is this person just that dog on a leash, and your role is just to cut the leash and let them go after the fucking rabbit? And then Nikki's point was, don't sell your winners too early. And he points out what occurs in this space is a good portfolio side needs to be like 20 to 25. And so you'll often have a whole lot of losses in a row, and that hurts. And then you suddenly get a winner, and you get an opportunity for a secondary, and you get an opportunity to exit and make some money, and you're coming off the back of your initial painful losses. That's the way to fuck yourself. You've just got to you've got to rise above that and understand the game that you're in. And if you're not in that, if you can't handle it, don't play the game.
That sounds like a really good session. And we absolutely need to get Maxine on the podcast.
Yeah. There's one investor from the ecosystem who will remain nameless after that session was like, well, I didn't learn anything new. It's like, fuck, that's not the point, buddy. Like you're sitting in Australia's greatest seed investors, front row. And so anyway.
And the difference of know and do. Not knowing who it is. So I've got the cheap seat on this one.
Oh, you know who it is. You know who it is. Yeah, what were you, where were you, Jack? You were at a...
Oh, the afternoon, I just went, there was I went and got a feed in the Arvo. So I missed his...
Did you end up with the Strackman one with Danielle?
Nah, did you go to Danielle's single session?
No.
Because, Lee was saying, Danielle, every time she talks, you got to go.
Yeah. No, she was very good.
But the other cool thing, which it's nothing extraordinary, but it's just good to see Blackbird living the values. And as you rock up to sign in, you've got Rick and Nikki at the front door signing people in. And Blackbird, I just think everything they do so well, they put their heart and soul into it, and they just pull off a great event, a great investment. Everything they do, they do it right.
Yeah, Rick was there going, come on, okay, you go here, let's go.
I'm pretty sure it was their whole investment team were actually at the front door, which I was like, this is so cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. No, they were absolutely in service. So some of the people I saw there, I got to spend a bit of time with Carly and Alex from Innovation Bay. They said, why are we not members? And I was like, well, I bloody loved VC at Sea. The challenge for us at the moment as an emerging manager in a VC winter is that to us, it's LPs are everything. And our portfolio is developing to a point where later this year, early next year, we're going to start to actually be able to demonstrate the TVP, the DPI aspect. And so right now we've just got to stay in the game, and we've got to be doing a whole lot of things around the missions, the accelerator, syndicated deals. I was like, I absolutely love what Innovation Bay does, but for where we are at the moment, we've got to grow up and become big boys before we've got that. But what they do is awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And when Ian was setting that up, like prior to that, it didn't exist. There wasn't that community at a national level. It's a fantastic asset for Australia to have. If we could afford it with all of our priorities and everything else, and where we need to direct our energy, 100% we'd be there.
Brian and Scott from Hockey Stick Advisory. I'm going to send this out to our portfolio, but a little bit of a shout out for listeners. They've launched, it's like in beta, but it's a partnership analysis gap product. And they've got a tool that they're building to help you build your partnerships. And so one of the challenges with founders, we just don't have a lot of time. And sometimes partnerships is just something that would be good for our business, but we can't resource. They've seen this gap. I'll put this link in here, but there's a little tool where you can analyze what your partnership revenue gap is, and then they can provide some suggestions on how to go about it and then provide a tool. So I'd like our portfolio to test that. And for any listeners who have a product that you think, I could really get some clients and some revenue if I had some partnerships, I'd recommend you do that. Met Dorr from Empress Capital. He recently joined the team. They were a early Anthropic investor. Imagine having that in your portfolio. He's going to come on the podcast because they're very AI focused. And I really want to understand it a bit more because I just see that whole world ending in tears. And in the Vercel build your own agent workshop, even Vercel will look at your prompt and it will choose the cheapest model. It's even looking to commoditize things, and a commodity product with no switching costs, subject to competition with a zero marginal cost, that marginal profit inevitably ends up in zero. Now, whilst everything's going to the moon, fantastic, I'd be taking some secondaries along the way, but I want to try and understand that a little bit more. Oren, a shout out to Oren, who's a young founder who ended the conversation with me going, I don't mean to be rude, but you're actually very pessimistic.
What was he basing that on, Don?
For just me and my personality.
Is he a podcast listener, or this was just a 30-second conversation at a bar?
The problem is being in B2B Series A, we're looking for a whole lot of signals. So we're not seed backing ideas. And we got into a conversation around TAM. And as I said to him, I think you're probably right. But when you've had that many pitches as we do and you find the product never wins, it's the go-to-market that wins. There are so many great products out there. And I'm sure he had an amazing product, but we see so many great products that don't win because they don't get the go-to-market right or the market dynamics. And so in trying to explain that, inherently it comes across pessimistic, and we parted as friends. And I did say, look, if you get to Series A and you're seeking a pessimistic but friendly shareholder.
A little bit of, is it pessimism or maybe just paranoia is healthy?
What do you have to say, Jack?
I was just, when you said it, I was thinking Don definitely started the conversation like, SaaS is so dead, mate. You're screwed.
Just fucking give up. No, I didn't. No, I was polite, Jack. I was listening. Yeah, great to spend time with Lee Ford, as always. Jack, do we know anyone that's more founder positive or just wants to see them win?
I think, yeah, Lee definitely takes that one, doesn't he?
So you know that Mark from AWS is no longer going to be Mark from AWS.
Yes. I'm excited for Mark. Has he said publicly where he's going?
Mark is another person who just loves to see founders win and is there to. So he's going to a company called Morphless. And so what they do is they don't try and change your like AWS or move you to a new provider or put you in with a reseller, but they've got some AI tooling that can leave you with AWS, but actually reduce your bill by up to 30%. It's almost poacher turned gamekeeper, where he can go into those customers, and especially given people's costs are going through the roof, and actually give them the ability and the tools for them to save a whole lot of cash. So I'll put that link in there. And there were some case studies that he was sharing. It's like easy. And if you're spending anything on AWS, you'd be an idiot not to use this. Sam from Tech Visa, he was there. Shout out to Sam. For people that are needing to recruit and solve the visa issue for bringing in awesome talent, which was a big topic of the whole event. Like, unless we get talent down here that allows us to compete with the world stage, Sam and his team are absolutely the ones to get onto that. Alex from Advanced, we've already spoken about. Greg from Pipeline came down. And that was awesome. We're going to be spending some time with him on the 11th, going through agents and everything else. But he had some very funny stories about Mick, which I won't share. But you just got to love entrepreneurs.
Oh, I can imagine what some of them are. I'm looking forward to catching up with him.
Either that's a new bird, or I've got an alarm going off. Can you just give me 2 seconds?
It sounds like an alarm, Don.
Oh, you can hear it, can you?
Yeah, like slightly.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's definitely an alarm, isn't it? It's same consistency. Oh.
Anna coming down today, Jack?
Anna flies in tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow.
So,
Sweet.
yeah, I'll pick her up. I'm going to stay at Jed's place tonight and then, pick Anna up in his car tomorrow morning. And then we've got an Airbnb in Bondi.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it should be good.
That's going to be epic.
Yeah. I know, she needs this just because, she's change of environment, no kids. Like, she needs this 48 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I think just scheduling that in on a regular basis. It was so powerful.
But I'm just praying that Louis is behaves at night time because Anna's mum's looking after him. So, he's been a little shit lately. Like, he just is up, just having a regression.
Right. That's not good. Yeah, you want it to be super easy for whoever's looking after your kids when you're not there.
I know.
Then they just want to do it more often.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Sunrise is definitely worth.
It's very different. It's very different. It's a shame that they cram it all into one day. Like, it probably should be 2 days. And then also, because it's crammed into one day. Like, by the end of it, I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, my fire alarm. I'm back.
Was there an actual fire?
Only in my soul after yesterday. Ready to roll.
Well, don't let that fire burn out.
Mario from Run Ventures. He's a great guy. He's just got a good smile and a good person to chat to. He's another person that just loves to help founders. Laura Whidden from WA, great founder out and about. So yeah, it was good. Now the sort of segue into a bit of news is that it's just so clear that agents are going to rule the world, and we're going to interface with agents. Like, it's just, that is coming. And for some sectors it'll be slow, some sectors will be fast. But one of the, I think, constant topics was, if you're building a product, does it interface well with agents? And if it interfaces well, and I think the easiest example for this is Jason Lemkin's example of, he's gone from 12 people at SaaSta to 3, and his Salesforce seats have gone from 10 down to 2. But his Salesforce cost has gone from 12,000 to over 22,000, because the API calls of the agents going in and doing all of their work has driven up the cost. And he's exceptionally happy at that. And so I do wonder, though, that 22,000 is probably a rounding error for him, but if it got to say 100 and you could do the same thing in another platform for 5, Like I do wonder that even if your system of record can engage well with the agents, is there going to be the traditional 80% SaaS margin?
I wonder how long before we start seeing aggregators. So, you know what tends to happen in finance as products become commoditized and we have these platforms that are just the marketplaces. If you had one platform that you integrate with all your tooling, all your APIs go through there, but in the back end, it just, like you were saying before with the auto switching on billing, but even just to tick a box that says, I want to switch to this LLM, and it actually handles it all in the back end for you. So you've got one integration you're constantly building for. Like,
well, I don't think you'll have to check a box. I think just like what
Bell
did, it was like, no, I'm not going to use this one anymore. I'll go and do that one. I'll just quickly rewrite it and move it from Salesforce into something else, handle the security, because I can have this agent that cost me 50 cents to go and save 5,000.
Yeah, there must be founders working on it now, but I can see the rise of the aggregators as the next flood of startups.
Yeah, so that was a big one. And then I'm just like, our role is to partly try and see the future. And from a momentum trade, do I wish we were in Anthropic? But from okay, you have to buy and hold it for 20 years at these vals, I'm not there. But sometimes you got to look out for signals of if a market was to pop, how would it pop? And there was an article in Chanticleer that said in the AFR, OpenAI just gave us a preview of how the AI bubble will pop. Concerns about the company's growth has sent a scare through the tight-knit ecosystem at the very moment that artificial intelligence giant is also fighting for a battle against Musk. As a bit of a side note, have you been seeing the text messages and emails that have been coming out during Discovery from Elon and Sam Altman?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh, it's very funny. I personally hope mine never do. I
was going to say, all money does is make you more of who you are, right? So I can imagine what that looks like.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to this, it says, when the hype cycle ends, and it will end at some stage, the catalyst may well look very similar to the bad news coming out of OpenAI. It all started with a story that suggested OpenAI had missed several key revenue and user targets in the last few months, raising concerns amongst the company's leaders about whether we'll be able to pay for the huge amount of computing power, more than 600 billion, as much as 850 billion by some estimates, it has signed up to buy, rent, or borrow between now and 2030. The article suggests that some missed targets had caused friction between OpenAI Chief Executive Sam Altman and the Chief Financial Officer Sarah Fryer, who apparently wants a more conservative approach. Like, the article just goes into that the fact that the money merry-go-round has become almost laughable in the last few years. But one of the challenges is what's happening more and more is the new model comes out, it's expensive, and for a period of time, people use it, and then they learn from that model, and then they try and get those tasks into the cheapest model possible, a lot of them open source. And then now there are tools that are managing it. And so a bit like the road networks, power grids, like these were all massive investments and have added a lot of value to humanity. But when you look at the various debt cycles and cycles of building these things out, the margins that they've generated tend never to actually meet the hype. I keep looking at these things from our own investing thesis at the moment, and part of me just keeps coming back to, thank fuck we moved to IoT and robotics and things that actually have some kind of proprietary data thing that can't be replicated. And a part of my brain almost flicks to, well, I don't even need to try and understand this because I'm just going to stay the hell away from it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think as well, like thinking about the IoT products that we're in, they're also, it's fair to say, like they're generating data, like rather than just relying on just switching costs alone, like there's something there that's actually feeding the models.
Well, the problem is when bubbles pop, not everyone survives. And it's fair to say, especially in COVID, crowdfunding just became like a massive bubble. And there was a lot of money that went into crowdfunding. And we know that a number of the crowdfunding platforms have fallen over. But this week it was announced, even though it happened earlier in the month, that VentureCrowd's parent company is in administration with creditors seeking $7.3 million. The parent company of equity crowdfunding platform VentureCrowd has plunged into administration with initial meeting of creditors hearing claims of $7.3 million in outstanding debts. Launched in 2013, Sydney-based Venture Crown hosts crowdfunding campaigns for private companies, construction projects, and sidecar funds. The co-founder and chief executive officer, Steve Malbani, has called the process a corporate debt restructure, with Venture Crown's operating subsidiaries and managing funds unaffected. I had wanted to get onto Adrian Bunter before this episode, which I really should do first before making too much comment. And I should also disclose, as a shareholder of Birchal, I obviously want to see Birchal and all of crowdfunding survive. And Dom Pym and Kirsten are going to come on the podcast and have a chat about what Birchal is doing to reset and also solve the problems that crowdfunding has suffered in the past.
When did you end up making an investment into Birchal?
I've told you about this.
I didn't realize you did.
It was on the. Didn't we have that chat on the podcast?
You and I talked about it.
No, right. Yeah. So Jack, I'm with Dom Pym on the drive 3 hours to the winery. And he's a big backer of Birchal. Here's all of the problems. This is how we're going to solve it. This is how Birchal becomes like the on-flow to VC to listed environments. This is how we get better companies on there. This is how we do all these different things. And after like 3 hours, by the time we get to the end, I was like, that's a vision if I ever did see one. I've got no idea if crowdfunding is going to turn around, but I'll write a check. Yeah. So anyway, we'll find out more information about that. It's never good when someone in the ecosystem is in that position, and I'll find out from Adrian. One of the things before we segue into finally theme of the week, that I think at the Sunrise conference, the majority of people there had high agency, high hopes, high energy, and are there to get shit done. But there are some founders I know that are struggling. And I think sometimes they're good just to have some little mental models or some little frameworks to trick ourselves to get moving. And I thought this was just a very simple little one.
Common questions my students at Stanford ask me is, I'm stuck in a rut. What do I do? My answer is it's likely due to one of four things, and it could be a combination of these. So number one, what am I avoiding? And I need to go right at that. Number two, where do I start? Translate my goal into something very simple that I can do today. Number three, how do I win today? Just write down three things I can move forward on today and then get up and repeat that tomorrow. And number four, what are the habits that are interfering with where I want to go?
1, 2, 3, 4. If you're a little stuck, and I was watching that on the plane last night, and then there were just a couple of issues. I was like, yeah, okay, step one. These two things I need to go and hit on the head. And then life can just become busy, and especially if you're spinning lots of plates. So if you're a bit stuck, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I really like that framework. I'll adopt that as a daily reminder. There was a good one I saw the other day, which was, we talk about making, like, velocity is important, making fast decisions, but particularly where they're changeable. And it was the hat, haircut, and tattoo model for decisions. So if you put on a hat, you don't like it, you can change it very quickly. There's little consequence. So make those decisions fast. If it's a haircut, they're the decisions that you might have to live with for maybe a month, but they are reversible. But the tattoo, you've got to live with permanently and take a bit more time making that decision. It was a nice little, actually reflecting on the decision you're making. How reversible is this?
So am I actually a tattooed freak?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, themes. Theme of the week.
I don't know if it's a theme or just a bugbear, but I've got this thing about compliance this week. With all these reports due for the fund and our funding from different state governments, and just realizing how much of a time sink that is. But then sitting in a lunch and learn this week on the regulatory environment, particularly for finance, and how the regulators are very concerned about the use of AI in financial service companies, and just hearing some of the cases of how AI has been used within finance service companies and how that's kind of stray, and then ASIC issuing fines. But it is an issue like the regulators are looking at now in finance, and all of these things drive up the cost of compliance, which then makes fund sizes have to go larger to cover the fees and expense of running a business, which then creates its own weird quirks of the capital stack and ecosystem. So we talk a lot about the virtues of emerging fund managers and smaller funds returning capital, but I feel like the regulation's pushing it the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something you don't really appreciate until you're in the weeds either. And like all of that stuff, it's just money off the bottom line. Like all these new introductions from Austrac, all of that stuff, like it's just money from the bottom line that takes from an early stage fund manager.
Yeah, exactly.
My theme's a little different, not compliance, but it would just be looking forward to the weekend. Anna coming up I think it'll be the first official kid-free weekend. So I don't know what the theme is, but it's just, I don't know, changing your environment for you and your partner. So it would just be good for a little reset.
Oh, I love it, Jack.
So good, Jack.
You got to get out of your environment. You got to reintegrate, reconnect. It's best to not try and do that at home.
So looking forward to it.
And you got a bit of rugby on.
Yeah, so going to Waratahs tonight and then the Roosters game tomorrow.
Nice. Oh, that's sensational, Jack.
Yeah, I don't know, after sunrise, the theme is keep finding things that remind you where your passion's at and what you really want to be doing, especially if you're stuck doing stuff that you need to do that's in the interest of the long term, and keep finding places just to remind you what you actually want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And talking with founders and other investors and in that place, yeah, it's hard not to. It's if that is the place that you want to be, it's you've got to constantly go and draw energy from it.
Yeah, I've got to say, hearing you boys talk about it all, and it just makes me really double down on that venture studio model, wanting to get some stuff cranking up. And I think, like we've been talking about, I can see that the future of VC, at least in our model, is in that direction.
Yeah, trading those returns. All right, well, let's get on to some charts. I will start with, again, the great Lee Ford shared the Carter report, and they have some, you just can't beat them for charts, right? Like they just have the data. And so for those at home, I'm going to try and explain this pretty well. But so this is data from 2016 to 2025. Solo founder startups are becoming more common. So one founder in 2016 was 18%. It's now 36%. Two founders hasn't really changed, but three founders, four founders, five founders, that's all down significantly. So the rise of the solo founder. Here's a chart going back to 2018, and it plots convertible notes and then safe notes. And the heading says everybody has chosen safe as the default instrument, because it has now, like, convertible notes and safes were like close to 50-50 in 2019. Now it's 93% safes and 7% convertible notes. Like the industry is sort of like made its choice. But the consensus on that is that it's a post-money valuation cap only, not a pre-money. Like the vast majority is post-money. Yep. And discounts are not really negotiated that much. So this is a chart of 10% or less discount, 11 to 19, exactly 20, 21 to 50, and then 50 and above. And it's exactly 20%, 63% is exactly 20%. That just seems to be the standard.
It was interesting on one of those charts before as well. The majority of safes don't have a discount. They're val cap only.
Yeah. And so then this is an investor from A16Z, and we want to try and help companies get operations in the US. But if you're trying to get US investors, just understand the world that you're in. They say 2 mil in ARR in 3 months used to be impressive. Now we expect it in 10 days. So if you're like top percentile, just understand what that needs to look like. Now, this is the top 5% of C rounds are now eye-wateringly expensive. Since Q1 2025, like this is an unbelievable chart. This is just hard to get your fucking head around. But like the 95th percentile used to be at 60 million, and it was at 60 million for 4 or 5 years. It has now gone from 60 to 152 million in the space of 1 year. The 90th percentile has gone from 40 million to 97 million. The 75th percentile has gone from 30 million to 44. And then the 50th percentile is pretty well flat. But that, if you are in the top 95, like that is just amazing. And then how much ARR do you need? And this is where I don't quite understand some of the stamps that people put on it. But to be in the 90th percentile, the seed ARR needs to be 3.6 million. I don't understand how the fuck that is seed. But anyway, I'm old. And then Series A is actually 11.4 million. The 85th percentile goes from 3.6 down to 1.4 at seed. So there's a middle 50% of startups that live somewhere between no revenue and $1 million in seed, and in Series A it's $1 million and $6 million. And so again, if you're going to go play in the US, you've got to understand what great looks like. Interestingly, PE GPs have more skin in the game than VC GPs, which is an interesting stat. I guess it probably, I don't know, do the PE boys compound capital faster? I don't know. But as you would expect, the GP percentage in the game is larger as the fund is smaller. That makes sense. This is the most random data in the thing. So lateness of the LPs sending their commitments, and PE LPs send their checks more on time than VC fund LPs. VC fund LPs run twice as late. So that's some interesting data.
I'm so curious the psychology behind that.
So the Buffett indicator, this is the corporate. Oh, you can't see that now for some reason. Hang on, stop sharing. Let me try again. This is the Buffett indicator. Let me try and get it scaled so you can actually see it. Going back to 1950, in the last dot-com crash, it was 162%, which is the Fed Z1 corporate equity liability divided by nominal quarterly GDP. After the last tech crash, it was 162% and it crashed down to 70%. Then GFC happened all the way through to COVID. It got to 218%. Then it came down to 150, and then now we're at 232%. Now, maybe we just live in an exponential world, and this is just going to continue to grow bigger and bigger, but who knows? Just to show you where the returns have been in the S&P 500. So this is looking at an equal weight S&P 500 of an index back to effectively 100 at the end of 2023. So the AI infrastructure players, like they're the ones that have gone berserk. So for those at home, on that level across the board, that's like up like 200%. What's interesting is the mega cap hyperscalers, they were keeping pace with the infrastructure players, but they've taken a dive more recently. AI productivity is actually pretty flat, and software in general is well behind. But I just find that really interesting because I just like the AI infrastructure layer to me is the most commoditizable long term. So the amount of money that is flowing to that space, I just see it flowing into just an incredibly commoditized world. But I really look forward to talking with Draw from Empress so he can help us understand what's happening there. So Charlie from Eucalyptus, he did a session with Maxine Minter and Joe Walker from the Jolly Swagman podcast, which I absolutely love. That got me through a lot of COVID. Joe just gets some amazing people on. But this is an indicator of national pride and belonging, and it's plotted from 2007 through to 2025. And our national pride and belonging in this surveys of Australian surveyed is close to half in just under 20 years. And what Charlie was saying, this is a really bad thing. And he points out that what's happening is we're a country of migrants, which is excellent because it brings so much diversity and skills, but we're not really integrating. We don't spend time in other communities. So what Charlie was advocating was national service, that give kids a gap year and national service. And Maxine, I think, then gave the idea of, well, if you had what you could choose for your national service, you could then like go build affordable housing, go pick fruit, go do a whole lot of things. If you had 1 to 18 months of national service, you would then start to get exposed to so many more communities and different ethnicities and different people. And those are some of the things that help build trust and respect. So I thought that was a good idea on behalf of Charlie.
It was one of the things that's been attributed to the Israel innovation ecosystem and its hyperconnectivity of, like they say, runs 1 degree of separation apart in the tech ecosystem there. But they attribute that back to mandatory military service because of that exact point. You mix with people of different socioeconomic circles that you wouldn't otherwise connect with.
Yeah, and a shout out to Peter Davis, who's been a long-term listener of the pod. He was sitting behind me in that session, and he's an Army reservist, and he really has given back to his country, and he chimed in with some. Maybe it was actually him that was talking about the need for people to be able to choose, because not everybody's built to be an Army reservist. And so I think actually it was him that put forward some ideas of how you could still have national service. And so that was great. What's this one? So this was looking at mortality risk by nap duration, I think based on age. And so this, from memory, like what based, I think based on when you have your nap, your risk of dying than a certain age population. But I should have kept the actual post that explained this. But I think what it's just saying is that your probability of the probability of survival goes up the less you nap and the less old you are. Is that no? I don't know. It's a chart.
My read is don't take naps.
Well, all right, I'll land the plane now. I thought, they say AI will take our jobs. Well, I'd like to see an AI proofread an email for 30 minutes, send it, and then quickly send 3 frantic correction emails in quick succession, each correcting new errors noticed after sending the last email, which I have been known to do.
I can relate.
Oh, maybe a big shout out to James Deck, who was down there and grabbed me, given that I absolutely owed James a call and a Zoom to help him out with a couple of bits and pieces. So I was appreciative he found me because he had listened to my obsession with power. Just have a look at this, right? These are the dollars that one can save. My usage cost on this day, I used 33 kilowatt hours because I also charged part of the batteries and it cost me $1.71. But on this day, that cost me $6.38 and I only used 25 kilowatt hours. The difference between these are if you do washing, laundry, and dishwashing outside of those prime hours. Now, did my wife enjoy that conversation and has it strengthened our relationship? No. But it's good to have this information and this data.
You're on track to save a few bucks a day. Might be at the expense of the relationship, but...
So thank you, James, for validating that this is in fact a worthy way of sending your time and that he in fact also drives his wife insane, and we're going to create a little club of future single men that are data dependent.
Next week, Don's going to come and say it's built an agent. So every time that it spikes when it shouldn't be, it sends a message to Libby.
All right, what are we looking forward to? Well, we know what you're looking forward to, Jack. That sounds awesome, and I'm excited for you. There's this transition point in relationships that if you don't do that, the kids will suck you dry, suffocate you, and leave you bleeding on the side of the road. So I'm glad you're getting this time and space.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, happy for you, Jack.
Founders wonder why I'm pessimistic sometimes.
I'm looking forward to... I'm going to go watch Don't Be Prey again. It's actually the final movie of the Gold Coast Film Festival on Sunday night on the red carpet. So
I am devastated to be missing that because I'm taking the family out to the farm.
Yeah, I was thinking about you being out there, but it's going to be a date night for Maren and I. We're going to drive down and take a bit of time to ourselves, so it'll be good. And
I'm going with 2 litres of hydrogen peroxide to treat the water tank.
I was going to ask, are family members taking their own water?
Yeah, so we've asked people not to leave before 7 a.m. tomorrow. Libby and I are going to aim to be on the road by 5:30 a.m. I need 90 minutes head start in front of my mother-in-law to do the final bits that should hopefully solve this whole situation.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, team.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.